Bowl, but yet to win. Purdy, of course, in 2023 and Hurts in 2022. Mina Kimes joining us now. Mina, great to have you with us. And I'll have you kick us off here, Mina. Who do you think needs the Super Bowl more this year? Is it Hurts or is it Purdy?
It's Brock Purdy for me for a couple of reasons. One is his team, the San Francisco 49ers, they should be in the Super Bowl. That's the expectations for that team. If you're power ranking the NFC, it's really neck and neck for me between them and the Lions. I have the Eagles further down. I have the Packers above the Eagles. So the expectations around this team, the bar for what level they should reach in the playoffs is higher. The other thing with Purdy is I don't think the San Francisco 49ers have a shrinking Super Bowl window. There's still so many stars on the roster. He'll be on the team for a while. Kyle Shanahan's amazing. But it'll probably never be easier for them than it is this year. Brandon Ayuk just got paid. I thought that was the right decision, deserved. However, they're way over the cap next year, and they haven't paid their quarterback. He is going to make over $50 million a year. And when they do that, this all-star team that has been haunting the rest of the NFL over the last few years, they're going to start losing pieces. Right now, however, the band is staying together. They are running it back, assuming Trent Williams gets on the field. And because of that, this season, I believe, takes on outsized importance because the roster is optimized to win right now, and thus there is pressure on Purdy.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree with everything she's kind of saying about Purdy, and there's definitely pressure on Purdy to step up and elevate. He's obviously been playing great, especially in his early young career, but people don't see that he did enough to win the Super Bowl last year. He wasn't the reason why they lost, but he could have done more to put them in a position to win. Now, I do think there's tremendous pressure on Jalen Hurts to ball out. I've said this a lot. There was a lot of excuses made for him last year, and I made them for him as well. And this year, those excuses should be taken care of. So if he does not play great, that would lead to a pretty big problem. And I think the expectations, because she said, the expectations are for the 49ers to be in the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl. I would say the same thing as for the Eagles. The Eagles have absolutely gone all in and are doing everything they can to get back to the Super Bowl and win. The reason why, though, if you're forcing me to ask who needs it more, Hurts or Purdy, I'm going to put it on Purdy over Hurts, because Hurts, at least when he was in the Super Bowl in 22, he had one of the greatest performances of all time. He did everything to put the Eagles on his back. He completely balled out and did everything. If the Eagles defense was able to just even remotely step up and not give up 30-plus points, then the Eagles win that Super Bowl, right? The 49ers did hold their own. They did. That defense did keep it close. And the 49ers weren't able to take advantage. And you could make the argument that if Brock Purdy was 5-10% better, that they win that game. If Hurts played 5 or 10% better, then he would have played like he was literally the greatest quarterback in the history of the world. I mean, that's a lot. That's a tall task to ask of a Jalen Hurts, of any quarterback, obviously, for that matter. So I think that's why some of the benefit of the doubt can go to Hurts, but that benefit of the doubt that he had, that kind of card that you get, that little get out of jail free card, was played in 23, right? This last season, where things did not go as well. His interceptions did nearly triple. They obviously ended very poorly and then lost in the playoffs quite badly. And again, I've made plenty of excuses for Jalen Hurts, and I think they're all justifiable, but this is the year to me that it ends up being sink or swim. If everyone stays healthy, right, outside of like really bad cluster injuries, if everyone stays healthy and Jalen Hurts does not lead this Philadelphia Eagles team far, yeah, he will be on the hot seat. They will be like, was it a mistake to pay Jalen Hurts? Should they have paid Jalen Hurts? And if Jalen Hurts gets injured again, if he gets banged up and looks uneasy, it'll say, is Jalen Hurts undersized? Can he stay healthy? Can he withstand the physicality? What happens when he stops running and he's a pocket bet? Like, there'll be legitimate questions. And again, to be clear, I think he will succeed. And I think he will prove that he can be a legitimate quarterback for years to come in the NFL and be a top quarterback in the NFL. But there's going to be pressure, right? If you're going to say you're a top quarterback in the NFL, then you have to consistently perform as a top quarterback in the NFL. That's just the way it goes, right? We can't say someone is a top quarterback and then just completely just explain why they're not playing like a top quarterback, right? That to me doesn't make sense, no matter how much you believe in the player or not. Now, Purdy, of course, in his first 2 seasons, year and a half or whatever, however many games it ended up actually officially being, like, he's obviously played great, definitely. And I'm not, in this video, the point of this video is to not get into the whole debate of like, well, is it Shanahan? Is it McCaffrey? It doesn't matter. He's done enough to play great and to lead the 49ers to the highest levels, to the NFC Championship game, to the Super Bowl. But the pressure lies on Purdy because you have to prove, especially now that he's going to be playing for a contract, you have to prove that you can be the difference maker. Jalen Hurts was a difference maker in the Super Bowl, right? I mean, like, he was putting that team on his back, and I think he had the record for the most third down, third down conversions, like 8 or something. I forget exactly what it was at this point. He did everything he could. He marched down that field and put up points and had to put up a lot of points. And again, it's not to say that Purdy didn't help and put the 49ers in a position to win. But if we had to compare the performances, it's undeniable that Hurts had a way better performance than Brock Purdy in the Super Bowl. And that has been Jalen Hurts' saving grace. And so until Brock Purdy, and that's the other thing, is that Purdy hasn't had a spectacular couple playoff games, at least recently, against the Packers and the Lions. Again, these weren't bad playoff games, but they were also in positions to lose those games. And I think when you're talking about Purdy potentially getting like a $60-65 million contract, this is the year for him to prove, I'm not even going to be remotely the reason why you're saying that we can't win. Like, no one questions Patrick Mahomes is the reason why, if they don't win. Which I always point out that Patrick Mahomes has thrown 5 interceptions in 4 Super Bowls. Even if he does that, even if they lost, he's not the reason why they lost. Just like Jalen Hurts for having that fumble was not the reason why they lost. Quarterbacks turn the ball over, so there's no question. I'm not looking at Patrick Mahomes and saying, he didn't play good enough. He's a limiting factor for the Chiefs. That's insanity. Just like I didn't do that for Jalen Hurts against, for the Eagles in 22. And Brock Purdy still dances around that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying from a media, from a fan perspective, that it's seen as that. It's kind of like, well, is he helping or hurting his team? Is he just okay? What's that next step? And so to me, it's not even so much pressure that he needs a Super Bowl. Brock Purdy just needs to be able to try to put this to rest. That no one can question that, yes, I may not be as fancy as a Patrick Mahomes or as big, as strong as a Josh Allen, but stop questioning whether or not I am a top quarterback in the NFL. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be a Super Bowl victory. We love to put these weird expectations on these players that they have to win a Super Bowl or whatever. And it's just like, it's nonsense to me because there's just so many factors. Because Brock Purdy did play good enough technically to win that Super Bowl. If a couple things bounce in a different direction, they win without him playing spectacularly. Right? Like, so that happens all the time. We've seen other quarterbacks, maybe not in the Super Bowl necessarily, but ball out, do everything to put their team in a position to win and then still lose. So this idea that an individual quarterback needs a Super Bowl to prove, or, they need it more from, because again, even the question, who needs a Super Bowl more? Like, again, according to who? Like for the fans, for the media, like, are the 49ers fans going to be upset with Purdy if he doesn't win a Super Bowl? Is the media going to continue to say Purdy's not that good? Like, that to me is then like kind of the question. Like, who, according to who? So, yeah, I mean, it's always tough when you're going to be a top franchise and a competitive franchise like the 49ers, like the Eagles. The expectations are to be consistently competing for a Super Bowl. And if there's any sign that you're the reason why they're not, or why they can't get over that hump, then yeah, there's going to be that pressure. And it makes sense that quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy are going to continue to have that pressure. Now, the last thing I will say is that I do echo what Mina said about this is going to be the best chance for the 49ers. It's not to say that the 49ers aren't going to continue to be able to win and be competitive, but I do think that this is going to be the best chance for the sheer fact that some of their key pieces are going to get older. Brock Purdy is going to get more expensive, as well as these other teams are getting better, whether it be the Eagles, whether it be the Packers, the Lions, the Bears. There's just other teams that are on their way up, and it's just going to be harder and harder. So it is, and that goes kind of for the Eagles as well. For both these teams, the Eagles and the 49ers, this is their best chance, I feel, to win a Super Bowl for the next couple of years. Because I do think the Packers are going to be a top team. I do think the Lions will continue to be a top team. I do think the Bears will be a top team in the NFL. Whether it's this year or next year, like, it is coming. And then that's not even attacking the AFC at that point and saying, like, I think the Texans are going to continue to get better. The Chiefs will always be a top team. As long as you got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they're going to be a top team. Well, the Bills might take a step back, but that's not going to be for long if they do. They got Josh Allen, right? So I just think that right now is the best time. So, and I think the Chiefs, the 49ers know that as well. That's why they didn't move on from Brandon Ayuk. That's why they paid him a lot of money. They know. And I think they're also going to try to build this team and build this, this salary in a way where they can hopefully get Brock Purdy on a more discounted deal. But who knows? Who knows? But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Who do you think needs a Super Bowl more? Jalen Hurts or Brock Purdy? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.